So, little Spartan, you've recovered Zeus's precious box, but you will not live long enough to see it opened. I will see to that. Goodbye, Spartan. You will rot in the depths of Hades for all eternity.
And with his death, Kratos is sent to the depths of the underworld and into the realm of the Dark Lord Hades.
Hades is the god of the underworld, and we also call the underworld Hades. It's a kind of a shorthand for the house of Hades. He is both the underworld and the god who represents the underworld.
He was the lord of all the souls in the underworld, of every single living being that died. And he got this position when he and his fellow brothers, Zeus and Poseidon, after they won the Great War, they had to figure out a way how they were going to split up the world. Zeus took the skies, Poseidon got the seas, and Hades got everything underneath. He got the underworld.
Hades' grip on Kratos, however, was not eternal, but short-lived.
Ah, Kratos. And not a moment too soon. I only finished digging just a moment ago.
Who are you?
Now that is an interesting question.
The old man that helps Kratos is Zeus, and Zeus's whole purpose is to guide Kratos to defeat Ares, because Ares is out of control. He's on a wreck-loose crash course, and Zeus doesn't really know what to do with him, and he's concerned that maybe Ares has ideas on getting Zeus's throne for himself.
In God of War 1, there was definitely the problem of Ares taking out the city of Athens, and I think Ares was a threat to the pantheon of gods. Ares had kind of gone crazy with power and bloodlust, and the gods were worried.
So even though the gods are very, very powerful, they still need to take on the form of humans sometimes in order to kind of steer the course of events in human affairs. They can't just will something to happen and have it happen. So we often get examples of the gods taking on human form and coming down to human beings and either advising them or tricking them in some way in order to try and steer the events in the direction they want them to go.
Most of the gods meddle in human affairs in one way or another. To do so, they have to assume mortal form. A god can't be seen by a human in his true grandeur. The human would die. It's very much like the Judeo-Christian tradition. You cannot see the face of God and live.
In Greek mythology, when you die, you go to the underworld. You're supposed to be dead before you go there, but it's a special marker of particularly exceptional Greek heroes that they can actually go to the underworld when they're alive.
The name for the journey to the underworld is actually katabasis. It means a going down, because they envisioned that the underworld was literally a place beneath the earth. Most people thought that if you go to the underworld, you're not going to come back. So only a few select heroes are able to negotiate the journey, because it's dangerous and it's scary. It requires you kind of staying within yourself.
There's a number of instances where classical Greek heroes venture into the underworld and return. They seek out typically the advice of spirits who've passed on, or sometimes even to speak with Hades himself. There was no sense of real finality in going into the underworld.
And so this obviously is pretty different from what we think of in a biblical tradition, where once your soul departs from your body, it can't get back in and you can't come back.
With his resurrection from the depths of Hades, Kratos opens Pandora's box.
The monster you've created has returned to kill you.
And challenges Ares to become the only mortal to defeat a god. After fulfilling the mission as set forth by Athena and the gods, Kratos discovers that with all that he has been through and done, it will simply never be enough.
We promised your sins would be forgiven, and so they are. But we never promised to take away your nightmares. No man, no god could ever forget the terrible deeds you have done.
Guilt runs as a theme throughout all of the Greek mythology, epic, and tragedy. It's a driving force. But for Greeks, it's not the sense of personal horror and regret that we tend to think of it. It's a much more objective concept, even physical.
So we often see Greek tragic characters having to deal with the consequences of the terrible things that they've done, either knowingly or unknowingly. And, you know, in our society we would use the term guilt to describe the kind of the psychological burden that you carry around with you after this. Often what we would think of as internal demons are imagined by the Greeks as real external gods.
And so how we could see this is that in an old tragedy by Aeschylus, after Orestes kills his mother, he's hounded by these dog-like old hags called Furies, and everybody can see them. They're on stage, they're abominations. And the way he gets clean from having killed his mother, it's literally he has to be purified by the gods.
Consumed by despair and unable to forgive himself, Kratos throws himself from the highest cliff in Greece. To him, death is the only escape from the nightmares. But the goddess Athena had other plans for the powerful warrior.
Sometimes, at the end of a Greek tragedy, after the hero comes to recognize that he's made a mistake and we have the reversal of fortune, this is also accompanied by what they call the recognition motif. And the word in Greek for this is anagnorisis.
Anagnorisis is a change from ignorance to awareness, according to Aristotle in the Poetics. It comes at the end of the tragedy when the hero realizes what has happened.
You will not die this day, Kratos. The gods cannot allow one who has performed such service to perish by his own hand. But now there is an empty throne in Olympus, and a new god of war is needed.
Armed with knowledge of his fate as set forth by the deities of Mount Olympus, a formidable challenge awaits Kratos, this time as the new god of war.